because you have already tried therapy and all kinds of mindset work and coaching and self-development books and classes and courses and lotions, potions, and commotions, and you still feel stuck, which, by the way, is not funny. I want to tell you something very important about this, okay? Listen carefully. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not weak. This is not a personality disorder. And I understand. I hear you. I hear this all the time. I know self sabotage, procrastination, self doubt, insecurities. I'm not good enough. I know. But this is not your fault. This is not a willpower or self discipline or personality problem, okay? This is a programming problem. And that's a completely different animal. So, what that means is you're actually living in a constant internal tug of war because the logic of you is like, oh, you should do this and you should scale your business and you should put yourself out there and you should be doing all these things and da 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 da. And like logically, it all makes sense, right? Reasonable, logical, practical. But biologically, you keep freezing and shrinking and feeling uncomfortable, and you just want to crawl back into your familiar zone. And biologically, you find it so hard to pull the trigger about those important conversations, about the negotiations, about asking for the raise, about going on that date, about, again, putting yourself out there in your business. Now, why is that? Which, by the way, I have news for you, just to put this in perspective. You know who wins when there's an inner tug of war like that between the logic and the biologic? Yeah, I know you guessed it. The biologic is 95% more powerful and in control. That's why all this and you should that and it makes sense doesn't work. Mhm. And as Tony Robbins said, this is when people should all over themselves, and that causes a lot of shame and blame and regret at the end of the day. And I hear this all the time because I know that this problem is very, very inconvenient, painful, and expensive. You know how many times when people come to me as a last resort, what else is new? I will have the conversation. Not only will they say to me, Susan, you don't understand. I have done everything. I have tried everything. I push myself. I force myself. I make myself. I journal. I meditate. I read the books. I watch the motivational videos. I give myself the pep talk. And no matter what, I just have such a hard time. The anxiety is still there. The depression is still there. So the question I will ask them, first of all, I will say to them, look, again, this is not your fault. You are not broken. You're not weak. There's actually technically nothing wrong with you. What is wrong is that you have been given an approach, help, that doesn't work. It's incomplete. You cannot fix something with logic if it's a biologic problem, meaning this thing that you might call self sabotage or procrastination or being afraid to put yourself out there, or you are shy, or you have a self confidence or a self esteem problem, that is not you being in control. That is a program being in control of you. And there's a big difference between the two because the program that controls you runs on autopilot. It runs automatically without your permission, without your approval, without your consent. It just does what it was trained and taught to do, not by you, by other people. And this is why this becomes such an uphill battle. So, um, this is why, as a hypnotherapist, I work with your subconscious to help you get rid of this program that is holding you back from being your best self. And also help you get in touch with the resources that you have inside of you that provide the answers, provide the solutions, provide literally doors will start to open the minute you get in touch with those resources. But for most people, those resources are buried underneath a lot of stress, underneath baggage, underneath fear, underneath pain, underneath trauma, underneath limiting, disempowering beliefs, underneath a lot of things that, again, right now, you probably are not even aware that they're there. And then you wonder why life doesn't work out for you, why you keep sabotaging. This is why. So please keep in mind, and also please don't falsely assume that, oh, I will feel ready or good enough when I have the car, when I have the education, when I read another book, when I get to that income goal, when I get make those finances. That day will never come, because that is a trap, that's a false illusion. Okay? We need for you to have the ability to pull the trigger now, to take action now. And also, let me remind you, you were born, you ready for this? Sit down for this one. This is a big one. You were born relentless, taught to relent. Mhm. Yes, so every single human being from the time they were born were literally programmed. Okay, and for just to keep this like in a perspective, and just to keep it very simple, the program that is typically running underneath the surface, what a lot of people don't know is, I'm not good enough. Mhm. And of course, this program showed up in many, many different ways and versions and colors and, life experiences. Now, again, like I said, through trauma, through difficult moments, somebody criticized you, somebody judged you, you didn't get picked for the team, you got rejected, you were lied to, you were cheated on, who knows what else. And all of that happened most likely before, and I didn't even get into abuse and all the dark stuff. That is just a whole other layer. But those are the things that will take a person and spin them for a loop. And those are the things that then, as an adult, will keep you believing and thinking that you are not good enough and that you should, I don't know, like there's all these high expectations of, oh, if I, oh, when I get skinny, then I will feel, not, no, no, it has to start today. And so, the most important thing I can tell you as a hypnotherapist, and this is why those traditional techniques don't work, just talking about the problem or reading a self-development book or listening to a pep talk, or, yes, it sounds like a great idea, but remember, needs to go beyond a pep talk. You have subconscious programming, or in other words, childhood programming running your adult life. Nobody tells you that, but that's the part that I work with. And this is why people can change fast and naturally. And what breaks my heart in this day and age, which I consider this criminal, so many people are diagnosed and labeled with all these interesting, convenient labels like anxiety, depression, OCD, ADD, ADHD, PTSD, and then are medicated. How convenient. When the truth is, this doesn't work. Medication, does it actually fix the problem? No. It turns down the volume from all those symptoms, but the minute the meds wear off, what comes right back? The problem, that condition that we call anxiety or depression or whatever it's called. But the real help never comes. And again, what I've learned is that instead of giving somebody a label and telling them how mentally disordered they are, which is not the truth, help them understand, no, this is just a program that is running the show. And this is just learned behavior, trained behavior. And we can untrain that behavior and give you something that will actually work. Because high achievers, what they really want, right, and who they really are at the core, but remember, buried underneath all, what they really want is to feel grounded, centered, calm, in control of themselves, regardless of where they are, who's around them, what the situation is. Because when you are grounded, centered, feeling in control of yourself, you can have the courage, you can have the confidence that you need to handle that situation. And when you're in that frame, in that state, nothing and nobody can trigger you or bother you or distract you because you are so focused. You are so intentional in your actions, in your thoughts. You know what your North Star is, you know what it is you want, and you are going after that. And everything else no longer matters so much. And this is also when you get to that place, you get to realize who deserves to be in your life and who is there to just trigger you and distract you and tease you and taunt you. But remember, high emotion equals low logic. That means when a person is in a highly emotionally aroused state, whether that's depression, whether that's anxiety, whether that's fear, whether that's anger or rage, you cannot expect of yourself to be able to think clearly. And that's just more biology. So, therefore, what we want to do here is help you be, be in control of yourself and your emotions so that you can use more logic and begin to handle life with a lot more grace, with a lot more elegance, with a lot more confidence. Make sense? And this is why, in my opinion and in my experience, all of these traditional techniques and things don't work as thoroughly or as deeply as you deserve. So, if you guys have any questions, please let me know because, let's see. Anywho, look, yes, I offer free consultation. If you want to get in touch with me and you want to have a conversation about how this works, and I also want to add that most people experience a powerful and positive shift even after just one, one session. So this is not about decades of therapy and, you know, crying over spilled milk. This is about helping you become as empowered and confident and elevated as you deserve to be. Because remember, you were born for greatness, but we all were programmed. And that's the problem that created all the other problems. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Oh, yes, and there is a link in my bio for that free call.